This is a pretty powerful set of heroes. If China are going to get it done, this isn't the worst lineup to do it with.
Yeah, I await tribe information before I tell you where I stand with George right now, because I do think George can be hit or miss in certain situations. Slysssa going Zyrella over Gallywix. Gallywix is a pet hero for some, but is also very tribe dependent. Murlocs are in, as we can now see. That is crucial. Dog on the Mally. If this is double token lobby, which it is, Murlocs and Beasts in, I actually think Mally is a very, very solid pick in specifically Murlocs plus Beasts lobby, which Dog finds himself in. Dog already got to play Hook Tusk, so why not have a budget Hook Tusk game now as well?
Seems fair enough. I'm almost certain, although it has been a while, that Slysssa took exactly Zyrella over Gallywix earlier on when they had a huge lead.
Yeah, it does make sense as well, right? Because Zyrella is a more solid pick, whereas Galley is a feast or famine pick, and we've talked about this a lot. China are very much attackers and America's defenders in this position. If Americas can creep towards 4ths and 5ths in this lobby, they'll be in fantastic spots, whereas China absolutely have to fire for that 1, 2, 3 in the lobby at the very least.
Let's have a look what Slysssa has been rewarded or presented with, and it looks pretty good. Just a typical Zyrella token start, but that's good enough.
Yep, any token start with Zyrella gives you all the options in the world. You get Jeef Curve available to you. You kind of get this adapted cheating Jeef Curve available to you as well if you find a second token where you can do it all on turn 2 and kind of skip that extra turn going into the 5 gold turn that Jeef Curve generally involves. You can also stick with Shiny Curve and just stay on 1 for a very, very long time, picking up those likely triples by staying on Tavern 1. Even with Zyrella, even though it's an option that's kind of out of vogue at the moment, Zyrella's actually really good at cheating levels and power leveling as well in a sort of Omu Yasharaj style thing, right? The fact that she can add a minion to her board for 2 gold every turn does allow her to cheat some levels if she really wants to, but that is not a particularly popular strategy these days, I would say.
No, just a very base way to start that off, though. You know, on turn 5, you can have a 3 gold level and a 2 gold minion. That should make it clear how good that hero power is in the early game, where the extra 1 gold is a huge percentage of what you're doing. In the same way that Yogg used to be pretty strong just because it could get extra minions and stuff. But now everybody gets extra minions, so it's drifted down quite a lot.
Yeah, I often wonder about those very early days of Battlegrounds when we were, you know, oh yeah, Yogg seems strong or whatever. Like, the data wasn't really out at that point. We didn't really have tracking to support these things. So I do often wonder whether the fact that we thought that, like, Yogg was really good, Curator was really good, all of that kind of stuff, were we just wrong? Was like just no one keeping stats accurately enough to actually represent? Because I remember when was it Just Saiyan got into Battlegrounds extensively, he kept track of every curator he saw in all of his lobbies for like the course of several weeks, and the average position for curator, even back then when everyone's theory was that curator was a top tier hero, was really, really bad based on the data that Saiyan accumulated. So I do often wonder about those early days of Battlegrounds and how miserably wrong about everything we all were.
I'd have to go back and watch 1,000 VODs. Actually, what am I saying? I'm the guy who'll be asked to do it. No, we're never getting stats on the early days of Battlegrounds.
Stats boy! Get to work!
Neil, keep your mouth shut. Just one time. Right. La. We see this start a lot at the moment, which is sort of Sauralisk plus stuff to stay alive, right? Sauralisk, a pretty underrated minion, I think, in most medium to low MMRs, just for doing exactly that.
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly on Diablo, the Sauralisk is just one of the quickest things that you can dump stats on early in the position. But I do think that Bill here in this spot has a couple of Divine Shields. He has the Reborn Taunt, the Acolyte, to be able to defend that demon on the far right as well. So I think he will end up cashing out a good amount of loot here. It might not be the full hand. He is a little bit weaker than we have been seeing from various other boards at this state in the game, but I think he will still have himself a platform to build on. Meanwhile, as we go over into the split screen, Dog on the right-hand side has picked up the Golden Jesse, as I will refer to it in tribute to Dog himself, and he is just holding onto it in hand. Interesting to see how many stats that actually is that he is holding onto in his hand right now, because he is choosing to greed for that more expensive triple.
Yep, it's going to take quite a lot of damage, but again, damage is meaningless in the moment until things resolve. Very interesting high-tempo lobby, actually, because we are seeing, again, the Xyrella and the Malygos and the Diablo all with really fast token-looking starts. Gone very wide, and it might be about who gets something really good from their triples, and Dog is going to be the person with the most shots at that.
I think he will be waiting here. That was actually awkward because, so Dog is on Shiny Curve here, which involves the double level on 7 gold, as I've talked about on several occasions. However, if you don't hit a Pirate to discount the Tavern tiers by at least 1, you do have to sell a minion on that 7 gold turn to make the double level happen. So even though Dog hit what was looking to be a very nice pair off his hero power, saving him the 3 gold that he needs to spend on the other Quillbot in the shop, he was actually trying to hero power into something to sell, most importantly there in that position, right? Like Sunbacon Relaxer, for example, would have been one of his best hits in that position. Ended up instead having to sell his Icky Imp, which he was grimacing about because he's trying to set up for revenge scaling in that position, right? So the Icky Imp is actually one of the best minions he has on his board to do that. Ends up with Greasebot instead, which does go with the Divine Shield build that he's putting together very nicely.
Look at Collins and what he's doing, though. He's just got a whole handful of triples, and he's just going to go as high as he can. I didn't see what Tavern tier he's on, but he's going to be on 1 higher any second now.
Yeah, 1 higher, if not 2, in the way this is going to go down. This is something that I really picked up first from watching XQN when XQN first started streaming. I think one of the things that people getting to watch XQN's gameplay really gave to the community was this hyper-aggressive brand curve, because XQN is famous for doing these kinds of things where he pushes Tavern 1 even longer than Shiny Curve in a lot of positions, staying on Tavern 1 through turn 8, turn 9, really greeding a bunch of Murloc triples and token triples in general in his hand to go along with that brand, and then basically tries to play it Shudderwock style, where he explodes into a full board of 5 or 6 drops, leveraging that damage cap. Collins not quite being that greedy, but it's a very, very similar idea with the early brand curve.
Got to make the decision. He's on 21, whether he really wants to just push the damage cap or actually do something about his health total now. And I think doing something about it now might be wise, because he's going to need a little bit of time to get the Bran actually active as well.
You couldn't make me take these triples this turn.
I'm such a...
Just you try it.
Oh, that's enough stuff. I'm happy now. I've seen the board. Yep.
It's pretty big, right?
Holding on. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with this wholeheartedly. I think Collins can afford to be a little bit greedy here, right? Like the crucial thing is like Bran hands you the win condition, right? Bran is a soft win condition. It's not a hard carry that some other things can be, but it means that Bran in particular does not have to go looking for elemental carries, for example, in an elemental lobby. So I think the idea of greeding out a little bit more and looking for those higher tier minions, picking up the Gurgles, picking up second copies of Bran, looking for that golden Bran further down the line, pushing the Tavern tiers up, looking for eventual Amalgadons, because we've seen every Bran board that we've seen be very successful to the point of actually getting into the top 2 has involved hitting those Amalgadons for the Divine Shield Poison to really carry things through. So I really, really like, from what we have seen of Collins playing this game, I love the way that he has played it so far.
Slysssa there, taking the full 15 on Xyrella, losing a 50-50 to get an extra card at the end from the Doomsayer as well. So that was a very unfortunate turn for her, or a bad turn, whichever way you want to look at it, how it turned out. Either way, not where she wanted it to go. But she did run into somebody who had just powered up.
What are those? The triples from Collins. He got offered Snake twice, Kangors twice, and then the only thing he really got passed alongside that was the Battle Master, but very quickly his tongue-out look of disgust has transformed into a little fist pump dance as he finds an additional triple this turn. Surely he can't brick on 5s again, can he?
How do you feel now?
This is why you don't take 5s, kids. 5 drops, not even
Not
once.
even once.
It's so bad.
Yeah, that should be early enough, Battlemaster, to buy him one more turn of stuff, but it's not a good card right now.
Yeah, the Battlemaster's okay. Freezing the Seer in the shop is fine as well. Weirdly, he's put together the makings of a scuffed beast comp, even though he's full Murlocs with a Rattler and Baron in hand and a Parrot frozen in the shop, but I don't imagine for a second we'll see him going down that route anywhere soon. He does seem to have the George very nicely covered in this position, though, which I think will be a relief to him. Something that we haven't talked about in general is that playing Murlocs in itself is a little bit sketchy in a mech lobby because the big Omega Buster Baron boards will make a mess of your SI Sethin Divine Shields that you have on the other side, right? However, Bran does have a little bit of a license to still go Murlocs because Bran, clues in the name, is guaranteed the Bran. So where other people who go Murlocs might just end up with low health poison scam, Bran being Bran means that Bran can just always get those big health buffs down, double up the Seer buffs, double up the Lookout buffs, make sure that it's huge Murlocs with poison that also come down as well. That has a chance to actually compete with Divine Shield mechs on the other side.
Bill correctly pushing his luck to the maximum to go into this second bar brawl, and he has got a whole lot of stuff going on in hand, but another triple is going to be absolutely crucial. The triple he's just picked up, if he's going to stay alive here. The thing is, he doesn't just need to stay alive, he actually needs to beat a considerable number of these, otherwise he's just going to fold under the pressure of no hero power.
Bill just hitting all of Colin's triples here. These are the options that Collins looked for 3 times and did not find any of. In the meantime, Tao Tao also tripled into a 5 and found a Bran, which I think Collins would have been happier with over basically any of the discovers that he saw there of 3 triples either, just to have the Bran pair in hand.
Tao Tao does have that natural grease spot scaling going on, which, you know, nice, simple for a George. Just pick a grease spot, off you go. But again, the minions aren't particularly large just yet. He might just be in time, but he's got a low health total. And going into this billboard with the extra 10-10, this might be awkward. I don't think he had a 10 attack minion in there.
This, if we switch focus over to the right-hand side as well, this is interesting positioning going on from Slysssa right now. She has the Omega Buster, but the Omega Buster is hidden all the way over to the right because currently the Omega Buster is actually not offering too much value in terms of buffing mechs and buffing Divine Shields, but it is offering a lot of potential tank value because of the 5/1/1s that it can drop out here. So she's putting it in a position where she's actually going to maximize the 1/1s instead of using it for its more common purpose, which is a good little spot for Slysssa to have made it.
Trying to keep an eye on how both these are going at once, and that is not a smart move from me. But the main one for Bill here is looking a little shaky. So many beasts. Look at those drops from the Sneeds as well. 21-21's going to get this done unless something terrifying happens to go wrong.
Yeah, Bird Person's still absolutely farming as well, pumping those stats up. There are still the demons to be summoned, but I don't think we're going to be seeing demons that can contest a 25-24 on the other side of the board. Who would win this massive army of Sneeds, Death Rattles, or one demon-y boy? Answer the Sneed.
And that is an Americas player in 8th place. Which is exactly the equation China need, and it's the Diablo, which could have just ended the game at any point, especially on this turn. Nobody else dying. That's a big, big deal for China if they're going to get this one done.
It absolutely is, yeah. Bill goes down. So Dog's partner in crime, Dog's accountability, if you will, has bitten the dust in this position, and that means that China has a ray of hope, but it is just a ray at this point. There is still not the massive beams of sunshine that they are looking for to take this one home.
PF got the health to continue to abuse the Avenge, though. It's in an okay spot. It's not particularly easy to keep everything alive. Just got to trust a little bit to to things going your way in the fights, but it's looking good. Island Cat with the second tank. He should be staying alive a bit longer on the back of that as well. And there's a lot of low health people in the lobby once again. We've had a few lobbies today where out of the blue is suddenly heads up or three-handed.
Yeah, this one could accelerate very, very quickly from this position indeed. Looking over at PF, he is still just pretty much slaying out max tempo on the Sneed. Triple Avenge setup as well on Sneed, one of the few heroes that can probably support that level of Avenge. He has Bird Buddy, Green Thumb, and the Witchwing all together on the same board trying to make things happen.
Yeah, and he's intending to keep it that way by the look of that positioning as well. The Green Thumb doing the work to make the other two continue to be valid on the board as actual fighting forces as well as avenge forces.
Yeah, continuing to keep an eye on the right here, just trying to look at the breakpoints for the tank. That high main getting buffed up out of range is a big deal, but the next shot... Okay, no! Oh, that attack was so huge. Okay, the attack from Xyrella went into the Bird Buddy, but let it survive at 1 HP, which actually pulled it out of range of the tank shot being able to come through and actually saved PF a significant amount of health, if not won the fight, and the tank is back from the death rattle!
This was Slysssa looking to knock PF out as Tao Tao does succumb on the other side. But this fight went pretty crazy over the other side.
It really did. That is a huge outcome, though, with the tank respawn off the death rattle, meaning that he cut so much damage away from that loss. That is 10 damage in a world where he could have taken 30 plus. There was a chance of lethal that turn, and I believe he was well below the actual true average in terms of what he was expected to take that turn.
Yeah, he must have been, because those drops were... It wasn't just the tank, it was the ordering and everything of where everything fell. It just looked absolutely nutty. And that's going to limit his options, or sorry, it's going to open his options for one more turn if he's brave enough and if he thinks he can get away with it, that he wouldn't have had even if he'd taken, I don't know, another 6 damage.
In the meantime, however, George has been defeated, which is a China representative, I believe, who has gone down here. So that was Tao Tao, right. So that means that it's one player from each side, and the very slim chance of China being able to get out of this one is starting to melt away. They will need to continue manifesting as hard as they can from this spot, but it is looking more and more unlikely with each passing turn.
La trying to turn these battle masters into something that aren't just 5/29s that don't do much. I suspect we'll see some gems go on one of them just to turn it into an attacking force. Nope, he's just going full buffs, obviously. I didn't even see the ground shaker because it had taunt and my brain didn't process it. So this is obviously better.
Getting through every turn on the ground shaker is going to be important, but he doesn't actually have the generation to be able to support this long term, right? So he's going to run out of gas pretty soon if he's not able to put something together. Take a look at what is going on in Murloc country. That is a giant poison Swolefin, but honestly, not really a lot else going on for the Bran over there. This is looking very much like it could be a win for La in this spot, depending on where this poisonous attack goes for him.
Yeah, it's giving him +0/+0 at the moment, the poison.
8-9, 8-1 now, that can attack into anything, and there is still the poison remaining on the board, which means this is going to be a dub for La. But actually, my eyes go up. It says he is only a 15% shot in that fight, whereas to my eyeballs, he looked like he was going to be okay. It did end up panning out that way, but the stats say that he was a big underdog in that one.
Yeah, I think the danger of the second poison was the problem there, but it never emerged from the 7. Were to maybe swing it against him. PF down to 4. Somebody went down there. That
was the Bran. We watched
Bran, which is Collins. Yeah.
Yep.
So China's still in with a chance. I feel like nobody's had a comp. We haven't seen Dog for a while, and he seems to be just not taking damage. And he was on that Malygos start. So I suspect Dog is actually sitting pretty. He's nearly caught up on Tavern Tears, but I suspect he's just fine. Because they are going to need a saviour, and it might be Dog in this spot.
Yeah, it could be any one of them. That is Zyrella, Slysssa on the Zyrella, Dog on the Mali in terms of the Americas representative. All it really takes is for one of them to have a good result, and by a good result, I mean not being the next to die. I think China, if they're going to have any shot, need to be able to take a 1-2-3 from this position, and even then I think we have some question marks over how that one has panned out. But every position that Americas can creep up this leaderboard brings them ever closer and closer to ending what has been an absolute marathon of a tournament with a victory. And if anyone is going to walk away with this feeling joy at the end of it all, I think it will be the winners, because a nice check in your pocket and the feeling of victory does go a long way to changing your mood.
No, absolutely. And Dog's had some, I mean, a lot of the players have had some adventures in this tournament, but Dog was playing from goodness knows where on day number 2. Having the rearranged schedule, he had to sort of book into somewhere that had internet to play. Remember that Luna stepped in and performed admirably in that as well. All the Americas players have chipped in, and without Monsanto, maybe they wouldn't even have got to play this Battlegrounds match and have it mean anything.
Yeah, and I will say that the China players have done admirably in terms of sportsmanship. Whether or not you agree with the fact that the option has even been presented to them in the first place, on every port of call when they have been asked, like, hey, we switched the schedule and Dog's actually on a plane right now, is it okay if Luna plays for Americas instead? China have gone, yep, absolutely no problem. And they did get to have a little bit of that good karma paid back, as actually one of their players suffered a very unfortunate injury, a very serious injury, one that required surgery as well. And the other teams were then quite happy to say, well, you have been super cool to us throughout this entire tournament, so go ahead and find yourself a replacement.
Yeah, and even down to the officiating as well. The 5-point penalty after they had the warning for the skins and stuff, that could easily have just not been applied, because it was a very sort of last-minute rule about the skins anyway. It was only raised by one of the players sort of the day before, so I don't think there was an official penalty in place, and that ended up costing them a point as well in that group stage. So
how much is that? That's 17! The double 5 drop, and that is Dog biting the dust as the Malygos. He goes full stank face in response to that. He is going to bite the dust in 4th place, but Zyrella and Slysssa survive. Slysssa has made it to top 3, and I think if my internal count has kept things on par, Slysssa surviving here has done just about enough to lock this one down for Americas.
Yeah, they do have that 12-point lead, and I'm pretty sure that Slysssa just hanging in there with this Zyrella that started off okay, but really, like everybody else, never really went anywhere, has got this done. And as she has been the team manager, the team mum, the team everything, part of the carry involved in this Battlegrounds team throughout this tournament, I think it's quite fitting that Slysssa is going to be the one who gets the final points that lock in the victory.
Yeah, Slysssa shared the happy news with us some time ago that she is expecting at this point, and you have to say there is no greater training for being a first-time mother than looking after a group of Hearthstone players, because they are the biggest set of children I've ever met in my life.
I mean, she's already had to send lunch to somebody today, so she's
literally
get better training.
She delivered a pack lunch to a player on her team. That genuinely happened.
So amusing. Right, can she lock it out though with the W, or is it just going to be the 3rd place? Again, I don't think anyone's going to care too much in terms of bragging rights, because they're going to win the tournament, but I'm sure Slysssa would like to finish it off with a win. Doesn't look like she's going to be able to get through this 1347, or at least the tanks are going to be absorbed significantly by that.
Yeah, the tank shots are a big deal, but she still has a lot of stats of her own still yet to be churned out with that Omega Buster Kangor's interaction coming back up. So this is just actually a lot of raw trading power. She's not a pure tank build. So she, even though the tanks are now biting the dust, she still has a big old stack of stats left over, and she still has the potential at any spot for infinite mech roll, no matter what happens from this point onwards, if the attacks do end up going back and forwards perfectly.
but PF is on Sneed, so we do have to just watch as well as speculate. It reminds me of casting Yogg-Saron in regular Hearthstone back in the day, where you just sit and see what occurs.
Okay, big deal. The shields did bounce back and forwards once with the Meckrals, but then they did bite the dust, which I believe means that no matter what happens here... Okay, actually, the fact that the 4/4s go first there was a big deal because there was a 4-drop respawn death rattle on there, which would have been taking up space with the Baron. But in the end, 5 drops going to pop out of this Baron. That's going to be a comfortable lethal. That is going to be Slysssa going down. That is going to be Chinese players taking down the 1-2 in this spot, I believe. However, I don't think it's going to be good enough. And in fact,
Ghost.
The other Chinese player falls to the Ghost. PF takes down the lobby. We have reached the end of our Battlegrounds proceedings, and that means we have reached the end of the tournament, and I believe that Americas are going to be champions in waiting here. And I'm going to go out on a limb here using my incredible powers of observation that our local Chinese venue have in fact confirmed that Americas have won this tournament. I don't know whether it was the confetti, the trophy, the giant eagle, the giant 30-foot word champion in the background that gave it away, but I have the distinct impression that Americas have won this tournament.
What does that mean?
Size matters, so people can check out what size they are by typing the command size. See if they're chonkers or dinkers or average or growers or showers.